Hmm, I, the bronze connoisseur, feel like playing Overwatch. But which one should I play? Sh- which one? Which one? I don't know what to choose. Alright, the skit's over. Hi everybody, thank you for suffering through that terrible, terrible skit, but welcome back to the discussion that I want to be having today about quick play and competitive play. I think this is probably one of the most talked about subjects in Overwatch, and there was a recent interview by SVB with Jared that kind of inspired me to make this video. Because I think when we're talking specifically about his views on quick play and how it compares to competitive, I actually don't have much of a problem. Um, I probably even agree with him to the point that I don't personally care what the game ranks me as. I'm just trying to play competitive because it is my opinion that that is where I will have the experience that is better tailored to what I'm looking for. And that is one of the big discussion points between on quick play and competitive, that it needs to cater to some sort of need that you have. And whatever that need may be, I think there are some things we can universally agree on, and that's some of the things I want to talk about today. So, because I don't think I have a solution. In theory, I don't have like the biggest problem with the discussion of do they need a third option. But the truth is, we already technically have three queues. We have unranked quick play, we have competitive, and we have arcade. And if you really want to break it down, you know, quick play is a shorter, usually shorter, since you don't get an attack and a defense round if it's one of those maps, uh, version of the game. Competitive is the version of the game where you are expecting to be rated and therefore placed with people whom you have a similar skill to. And arcade really would be the equivalent of the fuckabouty mode. It's arcade, it is meant to be fun. And when we go into arcade, we see a whole slew of different things that are. Um, I mean, I still miss you in competitive. I don't know if you can be balanced for 5v5, but still fun maps. I miss that they're no longer in rotation on quick play, and I will eventually definitely make a video talking about the different modes and the different things that Overwatch has to offer. Uh, but getting to the crux of the thing, I agree with the sentiment that regardless of whether you play quick play, where you play competitive, um, you shouldn't be trying to, you know, have a bad time. Or you shouldn't be trying to lose. You shouldn't be actively wanting to make everybody else's experience worse, um, because that is how you get your fun, right? And I think the lever penalty is probably one of the things that the developer team thinks is something they can focus on to help that. And absolutely, I agree. There's nothing more depressing than somebody leaving midway a team fight, and you just kind of have to wait for the next person to come along, and the dynamic changes, and maybe you don't immediately find synergy and whatnot. It can be frustrating, um, but at the same time, I do think that it is perfectly reasonable for players to expect certain things from a mode called unranked and competitive. And in this particular part of the discussion, I want to talk more about competitive, since this is the mode I am of late spending the most amount of time in. Definitely in Overwatch 1, I spend a lot of time in unranked, because I feel like the unranked version is probably the version that will give me an experience where it's okay if I make mistakes because I'm still learning. I personally feel like that is something that I can expect from a mode called Unranked. It is the version of the game where I won't be judged as much if am still learning. Competitive, on the other hand, has an implication, a promise, if you will, that I think not everybody can feel is being fulfilled. And we can dance around the topic as much as we want, but it really comes down to the ranked matchmaker. And while I am not implying specifically that we, the players, need more information about what exactly is happening behind the curtain, but I am saying, however, that when we queue into competitive, there is an expectation that there will be a metric that decides our quote unquote skill. And that metric needs to be uniform so that we can be rated against each other in the hopes of creating a match where we feel like we are being pushed by somebody of similar skill. And I think a lot of people's frustrations comes from the fact that the reality of playing a team-based game doesn't translate very well into that. And I don't, unfortunately, have a solution. But I do want to raise the question of why it seems to be so complicated. Um, because this is where I want to bring in another part of Overwatch recent edition. I think might play a very big role into finding the solution to one of the expectational problems of ranked play. Because I want to make something very very clear. As a bronze to gold player, I have no desire specifically to climb the ranks. I just want to enjoy playing Overwatch, and I enjoy playing Overwatch when I am getting better, slowly, acclimatizing to getting better at the game, and I feel like I can only do that, for the most part, when I'm being put up against people who they too are at around the same skill level, and when the promise that this is happening doesn't feel fulfilled. That's where frustration starts to come in. And I think a part of the complexity of Overwatch, the amount of heroes in the roster and the different roles they have to fulfill and the different abilities that they bring to the table, makes it very difficult for one person's rating to be universally applied to every role. And I think a great example of this is my own personal account. I am definitely on the way down still, so I will be heading a little bit lower back into bronze before I can start readapting to the role, to the tank role. So unfortunately, this will be heading back down. And the biggest difference here that we want to look at is the fact that I am a support main. I do need to learn to play the other roles. I want to be able to play the other roles, but we can tell that there's a massive rank disparity. My understanding of the game hasn't changed so fundamentally between all the different roles, so to speak, that a difference in rank like this can be easily enough explained by something within the metric of the matchmaker, I feel. Uh, but mastery definitely comes into play here, and I feel like the progression system probably works slightly will be a big part of what we will need to use to solve this problem. So a big problem I think in Overwatch 1's basically early open queue policy of basically you can choose anything. There is no role restriction either. One of the big problems was that somebody might always play their best hero, but the moment they switch off to something else, they're still being ranked and rated with the statistics of their best hero as well within the pool, and that may very much taint their experience on other roles. So adding the competitive role queue was a really big help. That way you can, focus on expressing and exploring your skills within each role individually, and as you can tell, they're very unequal for me. Support is by far my better role, but the knowledge required to play these roles, other than, of course, intrinsic different things about each role, which it is what I'm learning now, of course, which is hopefully why I will improve. But for me, improving is the goal. Ranking up should, psychologically at least, be the result of getting better. And the fact is, the reality does not match that expectation. And while I personally understand that you will always lose more games when you're changing up the way you play, or if you're playing different heroes that you're not used to, or playing in environments with players and team compositions, whatever you want, that you're not used to, you will be basically losing games while you transition your playstyle from one to another. And that is something that I know I can expect. But it does explain why there is so much frustration going around when these things don't seem to match up. And obviously, we'll see what happens with um, the reset coming up. Well, soft reset as far as I've been looking up. But the point is, indeed, the rank system is going to be reworked a little, and they're hoping to give us a bit more transparency on what to expect. So I thought I should. Oh, that is. Oh, well, that's amazing. I didn't realize it was that time already. Uh, Merry Winter Wonderland to all. It's a wonderful way to end this video. Uh, Christmas cheers and holiday wishes. I need to go and do the dishes. Thank you so much. Bye.